Okay. I can
Oh,
hear
there we
you.
go. Yes. Now we have sound. Perfect. You made it. Yay. Let me go here.
Yes, I did.
Cool. All right. So before we get started, I always like to let people do an introduction, give a little background of themselves so that they, kind of help promote your, what you stand for, your channel, et cetera, and things like that. So if you want to go ahead and do that, I know you as Cuteepye, that's what it looks like it says, but I don't know if that's, the way you go ahead and for the sake of introduction, give a background about yourself and why you do TikTok and what brings you here today.
Let me turn this around. Maybe they can see you. Nope, they can't. Okay. Well, I'm not a social justice warrior. I'm a typical individual that happened to be
Oh no, we broke up. No, I lost her. I lost her. Oh, there we go. You're back.
Well, okay, so let me start with this. I live in the country on a farm. I have a satellite connection. It is snowing right now. So with that being said, I might have some interruptions.
Right.
If it cuts out the satellite, it just does that with the snow and the weather. So that's why I'm having some problems. Anyway,
Yeah.
I'm not a social justice warrior. I stand for what's right and what's wrong. And basically, when I seen your video that stated, what we're debating about, it just it didn't really offend me or make me feel any kind of way. What it did was it made me feel ashamed that as an older individual, we have not done better with educating our youth, because I consider you a youth to my years on this earth. About myself, I'm in healthcare. I also teach at the local college. I'm an avid motorcyclist. I have 3 children. I have a husband, been married for 23 years.
You said an avid motorcyclist?
And I'm very well read. Yes, I am.
Okay. All right. I didn't see that. That's interesting. Didn't see that coming. Motorcyclist.
Yes. Yeah. I got 2 Z1000s. And we have a Harley. My husband ride with me as well. So yeah, I love motorcycling. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful pastime.
Okay. All right. Cool. I'll do a brief one because everybody knows me on my deal. But my background is I'm an internet marketer. I've been doing internet marketing since 2009. Also involved heavily within Freemasonry, kind of the intellectual dark web, Jordan Peterson, these type of circles. I'm libertarian. A lot of people do, or I would say even independent. A lot of people do think that I'm right wing on TikTok, although I have posts that do lean left as well, because I'm more independent. But that's what people see. And I have no children. I do have a girlfriend, and no, I kind of want I want what I want ultimately out of TikTok is to be able to have long form discussions like these, perhaps even TikTok live, which they do allow people to do, just not us yet. I think it's only in the UK. I know that they have it to where you can do this, like how they have it on Instagram. They have it that you can do the lives with somebody and talk with them, which is ultimately what I want to do. But until that comes to the US and it stays in the UK for whatever reason, I wanted to be able to foster that, because that's ultimately what I want, not the little snippy 30-second, 15-second deals. But I mean, there's you used to that, but I want to do that. And that's why I invited you here. You're the 3rd debate that I've had so far on this topic, and the 5th conversation that I've had overall since I started doing this. And so you wanted to do this fairly formal. I wanted to just state for each section what we're discussing, the kind of the context of what brought us here. I believe, and you can start correct me if I'm wrong, is the kind of controversy that arose out of my response to Conscious Lee's question about Black men. Why do you choose to date exclusively outside your race without blaming Black women? That's as best I can understand and articulate the instance that brought us together. Is that the background context?
Yes, he said, without blaming Black women, tell me why you choose to date outside of your race. And it was your response that kind of caught. Well, actually, somebody sent me the video and asked me how I felt about it.
Yeah, I think my
That's
video
how I
got
got to your
shared.
video.
Yeah, I think my video got shared. What the heck was that? That's okay. Sorry, I just got a random. I don't know why they're sending me these messages. Yeah, I think my video got shared with a lot of people, and there was a lot of backlash and flack. So, but I want to give people a chance to tell me to my face what I have wrong, and this is what this is about here. And so I sent you the 4 suggested categories. You seem to be fine with them. Those are actually the same categories that I covered pretty much in the last debate. So like, I don't know if you want to do those same ones. But the first one that I said that I would argue for is that one should be allowed to make jokes on TikTok at the expense of Black women. And what we can do here is you can pose me a question. Now I'll have 2 minutes to answer. I'll pose you a question. You have 2 minutes to answer. And if you get tired of the 2-minute thing, we can throw that away. It doesn't matter to me, but that's what we can do to start off to have some initial structure. Does that sound good? Ah, dang, lost her again. There we go. Got you back.
Like I said, it's snowing out here, so
Yeah.
I kind of got the gist of your of what you were saying with the question. Just to make sure I understand it, you're stating that anyone should be able to make fun of Black women on TikTok without getting blowback or repercussions, canceled, etc.
No, I wouldn't say without blowback or repercussion. I would say more so that it's not morally bad or off limits to make fun of Black women.
Okay, and that's your argument.
Yeah, like basically it doesn't like out of all the people you make fun of, it doesn't say anything bad about you. Like you can make fun of short people, fat people, and then all of a sudden you go to Black women and that's a bad thing. I think it's the same as any other category. And so
Well,
you should be allowed, it shouldn't be off limits.
Okay, I'll go first, I guess. So are you familiar with the term ableism?
Ableism?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm familiar with ableism.
Okay, so everybody that you just listed in that category will be off limits. So you shouldn't make fun of people that have height challenges. You shouldn't make fun of people that are extremely large. You shouldn't make fun of people that are one color, one race, one culture. You shouldn't do those things. So my argument with you is that if you're going to be politically correct in one area, then you need to apply or try to apply it across the board. And that's something that I learned from Conscious Lee, because I too started off on TikTok kind of on the rough side, like just talking about anybody, saying anything, nothing was off limits. But what I realized as I started to gain followers was that, you know, I'm talking to children. There are kids on this app that's 6, 7, 8 years old. And so what if one of those children, what if they're in a wheelchair? And then I'm making an ableistic joke. What if one of them is of the LGBTQ community and I'm making that type of joke? It's not, see, I think where we mess up at as an older generation, talking to a younger person, is that we look at the world from this single point of view, egocentric, just about me. The world isn't just about you. Everything that you do, say, and come out of your mouth will affect somebody else. So if you're going to be an a-hole, then be a whole complete a-hole, and nobody's off limits. That means you're not off limits. That means your white girlfriend's not off limits. Nobody's off limits if you're going to be a complete a-hole. But don't pick and choose and cherry pick which people you'll talk about. And then, you know, when you get the blowback, you're like, oh, well, I think I should be able to. You can. Nobody's stopping you. You can make fun of every single person on TikTok. The problem is, are you strong enough to withstand the blowback that you're going to receive from that? Also, what type of social damage are you causing when you make fun of people because you have no other content?
Okay, so there was two things in there. One of them was you should be able to, what was that?
I said, have at it.
Okay, so you said, I actually don't hold back on making fun of any, like, I'll make fun of gay people, handicapped people, it doesn't matter. And they can make fun of me. I would say none of them are off limits. And the reason why I would be more like that, which is, it's interesting because you're saying the ownership on the older Black people. I guess if I were to blame the older Black people, it's by having things like the barbershop where you rib on people. Because the way I grew up in the Black community, everybody makes fun of each other and goes at each other regardless. And so to me, that is a part of Black culture, and not even just Black culture, but minority culture, where people make fun of each other. And I think that it's good as a man because it teaches you to have tougher skin. And perhaps one of the things that I would agree with a criticism of the older generation that does say that's about the younger generation is that they are too thin-skinned and they are like snowflakes. So to me, I don't think that that's necessarily, you can overdo it, but at the same time, there is usefulness and not being off limits.
Okay, may I rebut?
Go ahead.
Okay, so you said that you take that from the African American culture of the barbershop, which obviously I'm bald headed, so obviously I go to a barbershop. But you don't get that. You don't get to use that as an excuse. See, you stated that basically you sliced the culture in half. You stated that you didn't want a Black woman with a whole bunch of baby mamas, so you dated white women. You don't get to pick and choose the culture. See, if you take a piece of the culture, it's like a whole pie. You can't say, oh, I'll only deal with Black men, but won't deal with Black women. Black women are very much integrated into that barbershop culture. There are Black barbers that are female. There are hairstylists that have barbers integrated into their shops. So that culture didn't just develop because only Black men put that culture together. That African American, and I know what you're talking about, is called joning on, talking about.
Yeah.
On the school bus when I was growing up, you got the back of the bus, you better have on some good clothes and some nice shoes, and your hair better be done because you're going to get talked about if you go back there and you look awful. So I'm not saying any of that is right, but I understand that culture. But see, you can't pick and choose. That's an entire culture, but yet you're negating half of that culture by saying Black women or this or that, or excommunicating Black women from that culture. And I don't understand, how could you even try to lean back on the culture to explain your feeling when you're only taking 50% of the culture? Black men alone are not the authors of our culture. It takes a man and a woman to make a child, or however which way you politically correctly say that, a female entity and a male entity to make a child, right? And it takes those two entities to raise that child. And above all of that is the society or the culture of that family. Okay, and it may look different. You may have two Black men, you may have two Black women, you can have all different pieces of that culture, but you can't just take and slice off half and say, oh, they're garbage, but I'm gonna keep this half and say this is where I get this from. And in no Black barbershop I have ever been in, ever in my 42 years on the face of this earth, have I ever walked into a barbershop and seen a Black man denigrating a Black woman. Never. That shop wouldn't even be open, and I'm from the STL. So just to let you know, that shop would not stay open long, okay? You do not walk in a Black barbershop and Black men are talking and degrading Black women while Black women are present. I can't say what happens with the boy talk and all that trash when I'm gone.
That's the main point.
I've never seen it.
Yeah, because they ain't gonna do it. They ain't gonna do it in front of you. They're not gonna do it in front of you.
But see, you did it on TikTok, so you did it in front of a billion Black little girls. Okay. I'm on this, I'm on this with you, not for me. Okay. I'm 42. You and your TikTok and your YouTube will never change the fact that I know I'm amazing every day. Okay. You don't have that type of power. You do not define the terms by which I live. However, you can affect that 7-year-old girl that actually looks to you and say, this is a person that looks like me. And then you say something nasty and disgusting out of your mouth. Now, how is she supposed to feel when everybody at school is telling her she's ugly, she's too black, she's stupid? How is she supposed to feel? She run across somebody that look like her and they treat her like this. That's what I'm saying. There's ramifications for the things that come out of your mouth. You damn right I walk into the barbershop and they're not going to say anything out of pocket to me because I'm an adult woman and I'm going to let them know that's out of pocket. And if I don't have the authority and the power to do so, I have a husband and 4 brothers and a whole bunch of cousins. So yeah, we make sure that we take care of our own. And the same thing is when I'm in a beauty shop and a lady's man friend walk in or a man walk in, we are also very respectful. We change our subjects as well. We might be talking a little too much. When a man walk in, we give them the respect. We give that woman and her man the respect to let them conduct their business and he leave or whatever. Okay. But back to my original premise is you don't know the ripple effect that you cause when people that look like you and me jump online and denigrate each other and denigrate young generations coming up. You have the power to change somebody right now that's looking to you to say, I want to do marketing. I want to do creative content. I want to do this. I want to do that. But will they look to you with all of your vast knowledge if you come out of your mouth and all that spills out your mouth is trash and garbage towards the other half of what you are as a Black man? I know I wouldn't.
Yeah, so to address a couple of those points, if I actually exclusively dated a white woman, then you would have a point of not taking all the culture. The point of the way I was trying to address this is that I don't that's not actually who I am. I was making a joke. And then I'm trying to address whether that joke should not be made. And then, so let's say I shouldn't make that type of joke. Would you be against people like Dave Chappelle, Chris Rock, Eddie Murphy, Donnell Rawlings, Cat Williams? Are you against what they do?
As a 42-year-old woman, there is no entertainer that walks the face of this earth that ever negate the way I think. Okay. They are entertainers. They are human beings that put their pants on one leg at a time. So I don't idolize any celebrities or anything like that. They are entitled to their opinion. Dave Chappelle, I know, is married to a Black woman. Cat Williams adopted like 6 children that are Black, I believe. And the other ones I don't really know about. I know, so I'm not a big, huge fan of the comedy circuit to be, really speaking with authority about those guys' lives. But ultimately, what I wanted, the point I want to drive home is that although you may not be dating solely a Caucasian female, or only just Caucasian females, you use that as a bolster for your TikTok. You created that criteria in your TikTok and made that facade apparent that you date white women, and you do that in retrospect to dating Black women because we have too many baby fathers. That was your TikTok, and that is offensive.
So basically, I guess the part of the assumption that you're making in here is that I could have answered consciously's question in a way that didn't sound stereotypical.
If you use a negative stereotype as your criteria for who you date against your own race, then yeah, because that's what you did. So okay. The criteria to date you, as I view, if I was a little young Black girl, I would view it to not be Black. That's what you said. Don't be Black, because Black women have too many baby fathers, which is just, I mean, I don't have time to go into that whole history of all of that, but we can if you want to. So, okay. 25 years of social work, I can tell you exactly what's up.
Okay, so what to you would be an example? Like, so Do you know of anyone who has determined to date exclusively outside their race as a rule?
So with dating is a very complex structure. Okay. One thing is with the invent of, we got social media now and the internet, but back in the day it was by proximity. So individuals typically dated and married people by proximity. So you were in a Italian neighborhood, you dated and married Italian and things like that. So now, since we're so advanced, we're able to date across the ocean, etc. I think, to be honest with you, I think most of the people that make statements like what you made is only a highlight into your own mental illness versus a reflection of an entire race of people.
Yeah, but do you
And
think that
I
there's anybody?
justify that by
Do you think there's anyone who actually is determined to date exclusively outside their race as a rule? I'm saying that that person doesn't exist. Do you think that that person does exist
that they are determined to date outside of their race
as a rule?
as a rule, like no matter what. Of course there are. Of course, how many billions of people are on the face of this earth? You're going to find a combination of any kind of different person that's going to want to do this versus that. Of course they are. There are
Okay,
people that will say, yeah, I will only date Native Americans or etc. Yeah, that's going to happen.
and okay, so I'll agree that they exist, but could they? Is it possible that any of them are not racist?
You can date outside of your race and not be racist.
Yeah, but as a rule, because saying
You're talking.
isn't the person who says I will not date black women as a rule necessarily racist?
Yes, that is racist
Okay, so to me,
because there's always going to be because. See, you don't, okay, so let's take it away from race because then that keeps it all emotional. Let's put it to catfish, okay? A fish. I will not eat catfish because I have a because. I don't eat catfish because it has skin and it's a scavenger. So I don't eat catfish. I have a because. I don't know of anyone personally that's woken up and said, I'm not going to date black women. That's it. They always have a because this happened or that happened, or I was raised this way or raised that way or whatever. There's always a because, there's always an explanation.
is from your perspective, is there any because that would actually hold as a rule towards all black women?
Never.
Okay,
Because can I put all black men in one bucket and say all black men are this way? I cannot do that. That's racist. That's prejudice. I'm prejudging you before I even meet you.
right.
I am prejudging you before I meet you. So if I just put every group, and we're fighting stereotypes, why in the world would I sit here as a marginalized minority and perpetuate them? That's just adding to the problem. No, when I meet a black person, an African American person, I meet a person first, okay? I meet a human that has a heart, that love, that cry, that feel pain. I meet a human first. Now, you may happen to be black, you may happen to be white, you may happen to be Asian. Oh well, that those are attributes, but they don't make you the person. Okay, I've been treated well by people of various races, and I've been treated like crap by people of various races. And I tell you what, crappy people exist across the board, but so do really good people as well across the board, regardless of race. So yes, if you have the statement in your head or in your mind, I will not date black women, you're gonna have that because. And if you can tell me a because that isn't isolated to being a racist because, then I mean, you win the internet for the day. Because you're not going to be able to tell me something that's not racist because I don't like their hair, because I don't like the way they talk, because I don't like their makeup. It's going to be because that's going to be attributed to black women.
So what's an example of a because that you would accept?
I will accept no because. There's no valid reason why someone would tell you, I will not date a Black woman. That's not prejudiced, period. Now, not dating a Black woman and saying I'm not going to date Black women are two different things, okay? So if Johnny met Sally and he's in love with Sally and he's dating Sally, then why in the world would we even ask Johnny if he's even entertaining dating a Black woman, right? But if Johnny in the market and he's swiping past all the Black women, he has an innate reason why it's in there. He may not have said it, but it's in there. There is no because that justify why people won't date Black women. But I mean, it's not like Black women are having a shortage of finding people to date. I mean, it's all kind of races that will date Black women.
Yeah, so if there's no because that would be legitimate, then how does that not destroy the validity of the question itself?
What do you mean? He said, don't use Black women, and you did.
No, yeah, but yeah, I'm
saying
yes, I broke the rule of the question, but the question has impossible rules. That like so like what would be an example of an acceptable answer?
It was a loaded question. You kind of didn't catch that. He put that question out there to have you guys embarrass yourselves with it. It was a loaded question. There is no because. The minute you say because, like if I say, Anthony, I like you, but that but negates everything I say before, you know, no matter, Anthony, I love your hair, I love your attitude, I love your charisma, but soon as I put that but or that because in there, that negates it. So you cancel that out. You cancel everything out. So it was a loaded question to have you guys do that duet and get kind of called out. It was Consciously is super intelligent. And when I seen his video, I seen your video first because it was sent to me. And then I went back and looked at his video, and then I went and looked at all the duets and stitches and all that. And it was a crime scene on you guys. It was a crime scene and y'all got set up. So there is no valid answer for just being a prejudiced person and saying that I don't date Black women or I won't date Black women because. It really isn't, because a woman is a unique individual, and the beauty that you find over here with your girl, you may find a different type of beauty with a different girl or a Latin girl or a Native American girl. It's you're not, no two people are alike. Even identical twins have their own separate personal identities, although they are very similar. They still have their own ticks and things that move them. So what you find is beautiful and you love about this girl, the next girl down the road may be this, and you may find that beautiful and attractive. So to say all Black women are and I can't do it is just a shortcoming on your behalf, not a Black woman's behalf.
If I actually meant it, but I guess the point is like so you saying that
because you put it out in the universe. You put it out in the see. That's what I don't understand about people. You cannot, when I get on TikTok and I say something or do something, even if it gets taken down, even when I'm being nasty about somebody that did something ignorant, I mean it. I don't take it down. TikTok take it down. I mean it. If you say it, mean it. Even if it's a joke, mean it, because your jokes, your humor has ramifications out in the real world, implications. You have a following of young boys, girls, and adults. Your words matter. And when you get on these social media platforms and you say things that are negative toward an entire half of a race, that has a meaning. How you know that somebody that's seen that video didn't have a mother that had 3 different or 4 different dads and they're sitting there watching that video? How do you know that? We're responsible for the content we create.
The thing is this, is that words matter, but actions matter more. So I think my actions matter more than my words, and I don't actually date exclusively white women. That's not my history. It doesn't correlate with reality. What was that?
Hold on. You cannot backtrack that, okay? You get 60 seconds, right? You have 60 seconds to make a video. Basically, what the video you made boiled down to is that you tried to piggyback off of Black women for clout, okay? We got enough of that going on. You try to piggyback off of Black women for clout because the joke you made was so.
I want to ask a question.
I'm listening.
Why would it be piggybacking off of Black women for clout rather than piggybacking off of Conscious Lee for clout?
No, you were piggybacking off Black women. You consciously wanted you to use his video. He put it out there for you guys to use it. And it's in a nice little neat collection of Black women bashing a-holes for us to go and review and look at, okay? It's a nice collection. It's wonderful. And I love that he did that. Kudos to Conscious Lee for that. No, you piggyback off Black women because you had options. You had options. Your video had options. You could have said something like, because I love this lady right here, and just left it at that. You didn't have to say, because I don't want a woman to have a whole bunch of baby daddies. Okay? And we haven't even touched on the social aspect of what you said.
But that would have been taking the question seriously. And you've already shown that it was a baited question. So why would I take it seriously?
You get baited questions in debates all the time. They're loaded. I think the term I used was loaded. But you get those all the time. And so with that being said, if you take the time to actually think through your response, you can have a good response without making fun of anybody. You could have had a good response without making fun of anybody. You could have threw a pie in her face and said, because I can't do that to Black women. It didn't have to be as negative and nasty as your original response was. There was things that you could have done to highlight her as an individual without downplaying Black women as individuals.
Wait, if I threw a pie in her, if I threw a pie in her face and said I can't do that to Black women, wouldn't that be denigrating to white women?
You denigrated Black women, so why do you now have a problem with denigrating white women?
I don't know. I just wanted to know whether that you would consider that valid criteria. So I'm okay with
you throw pie in her face.
But I'm okay with it. I'm asking you whether you think that that's what Conscious Lee would have accepted, or you would have accepted as a valid response, something that denigrated white women.
His instructions was without bringing up Black women. So you would have followed the instructions, okay? Obviously, you would have had a conversation with her before you threw a pie in her face. I mean, if you didn't, then, I'll come to wherever you at and help her, get at you. That would be wrong. People do stuff for TikTok all the time. The example I'm making is that you can have a positive interaction with TikTok without denigrating Black women or even white women or Latinx. You don't have to do that. You chose to do that, and you knew the repercussions was going to be swift. All of you guys that did it, every last one of you guys on his video that stitched and duetted that video knew what you were going to do, and you knew it was going to be negative. So yes, Conscious Lee question was loaded, and your reaction was very typical.
Yeah, I don't know why people, I don't know if I should. So I don't know why people think that I know that my video is gonna blow up before I do it, because honestly, I want every video to blow up. There's no video that I post and I'm like, I don't want this to blow up. So it's the same, that video is no different than the videos that I have that aren't dealing with race or anything like that. I want all of them to blow up. But the thing I want to say is, so it's interesting. So your concept is consciously ask this question, which is a loaded question. He gets a lot of responses, and the negative consequences that flow from that are on the shoulders of the people who responded to Conscious Lee's question, but not to Conscious Lee in any way.
No, I don't believe Conscious Lee is. I follow him and I've watched his videos. He does not, if he make a mistake or he does something that offends a subset of individuals on TikTok, he is quick to call himself out. Okay, so no, I don't think, are you asking me, do I think Conscious Lee targeted you guys?
No.
Like the question?
No. So basically you're saying the results of this whole thing at some point are very negative towards Black people, but you're putting the blame on me and other people who responded like me, and none of it goes to Conscious Lee. So the buck stops at the
Consciously
responder.
opened the door up for, yeah, because he didn't, okay, so it would have fell on him if he had posed his question and then add, I'll go first, and then came up with his own scenario. But we all know that Consciously is married to an African-American woman with children. So that would have been a moot point. There would have been no point in him doing it because we all would have known that that's not the truth. I believe that once you guys started jumping on that bandwagon, you kind of like got into this frenzy of making these statements. And if you go back, some of the statements are funny, some of them are not, some of them are kind of gross. It just depends on, the individuals that their approach and their thought, their perception, their environment, everything about them. When you're on display on TikTok or any social media platform, believe it or not, your insides is showing. Everything about you showing. And if you get on TikTok and you're negative, nasty, and ugly all the time, then that's what's on the inside. That's your own mental health shining out. So then I have a question for you.
What?
If you want to answer, you don't have to. What was your home life like growing up?
I mean, that's broad, so I can answer it in a number of ways. I grew up without my dad in my life. My mom raised me along with my grandparents. I went to public school, but I was in the merit program and higher education. The schools that I ended up going to, like high school and stuff like that, were pretty low class, low end, probably 50, 60% Black, but maybe 40 to 50% Black, 60% economically what do you call it? Disadvantaged.
Disadvantage.
Yeah. And my mom did a lot of things to make me, to help me be better, like bring me into summer camp, and I went to golf camp, archery, like all this different stuff, merit programs, higher education, and stuff like that. So concerning like where I grew up, I was fairly privileged, but I did grow up in the hood.
Okay, so you were privileged for the hood.
Yeah.
So you were the family that had a little extra money, but you still were in a social, economically depressed area.
Yes.
If I understand. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Do you blame your mother for that? You do?
What are you talking about?
Do you blame your mother for how you grew?
That sounds like I grew up bad when you say blame.
That's what I'm asking. Do you blame your mother for how you grew up? You didn't have a father per your own statement. You grew up in a social economically depressed area, but you guys had disposable income. But I'm assuming that there were ups and downs.
Yeah.
And mom did fight for you a lot. But question is, do you blame your mother for how you grew up?
No, I don't. No, I don't.
What is your relationship like with your mom now?
It's great. It's great.
Are you living close to her?
No, I'm living across.
I'm getting at something. Are you?
What was that?
I'm getting at something. Or do you live close to her? How often do you see her? How often do you talk to her?
Talk to her 2 to 3 times a week. I live across the country. Yeah, she sends me clothes, and then I send her money when she needs help with stuff, help her out with bills here and there. And then if I need help, she helps me out.
So might I ask how old you are?
I'm 34.
Okay, you're 34. So that will put your mom probably in her late 50s, early 60s.
Yeah.
Okay. So you send mom money to help her out when she needs it.
Mm-hmm.
Do your mother represent the struggle for you?
I don't know what that means. Does my mother represent the struggle for me? What do you mean?
So, so basically, well, you told me about your family, so I'll tell you about mine. So I grew up in a house where it was 8 people, my 2 parents and 6 siblings. My father worked for the brewing company Anheuser-Busch, and my mother was a registered nurse. We moved from one 5-bedroom house to a 6-bedroom house in the suburbs where we were the only Black family for a long time. I did not grow up in the struggle. So I chose when I got older to go and get in the struggle because I wanted to be like down and be cool. But I was not part of that struggle. I had both of my parents, they both worked, did really well. What I found when I got to the hood and I moved in there, which was a very good learning experience, culture shock, but it was a learning experience, is that we don't always admit it, but African Americans have PTSD from how they're raised. And oftentimes when Black people, parents, have always been in the struggle and have never broken the barriers of the struggle, there is anger deep seated inside of that child for their parents' lack of success and lack of doing well. Whereas with my parents, if I got jammed up, I could call actually I did, I needed $1,300. And my father was like, can you get to Western Union? Some kids don't have that. And I understand. And I think, I just thankful for my circumstances that I was able to have that. But I witnessed people that didn't have that didn't have food, that didn't have basic essentials, that needed to borrow toilet paper and soap and toothpaste and stuff like that. I witnessed that. And what I witnessed was that those children grew up very angry. And usually that anger was directed at one or the other parent. And I also noticed that those children usually did not have both parents in the house. And so usually the object of the anger was the parent that was present. So your anger towards Black women that you won't openly say that you have, that you mask as a joke, probably comes from the fact that you feel like your mom is a total failure and you're embarrassed by it. So why would you attach yourself to that failure?
Okay, I have a question for that. Okay, so let's say I have psychological anger that I need to deal with, and it's masked as a joke. Since I do joke against Christianity, since I do joke about gay people, since I do joke about all these other things, why would it not be anger that I have against all of them as well? Why is it exclusively Black women?
Are you gay?
Perhaps I am gay, but the point of what I'm saying, the point of what I'm saying is, why would you zero in on that particular group when I make fun of every group, is what I'm saying. I'll make fun of Democrats, Republicans.
I understand what you're saying.
So why
I'm asking you, are you a part of those communities other than Christianity? Because I seen your response that you believe you are a Christian.
Yeah.
Are you a part of those other communities?
Oh yeah, some of them.
Okay. So let me give you an example of dark humor. There's a saying, Sally's beauty supply is not a real beauty supply. Okay. I can make that joke that I go to the beauty supply and buy a ton of worthless, trashy jewelry and lip gloss and stuff like that that ain't worth nothing. And Sally Beauty is not a real beauty supply. Okay. That's a joke. That was a trend on TikTok. I didn't get in on it, but I could make that joke. However, if you go and you make that joke and you add a twist to it that all Black women only shop at these type of trashy beauty salons or beauty shops, you change the essence of the joke. You add that negative spin on it. I am a part of the African American female community. So therefore, when I make a joke, I am pointing it at myself. Okay. If I make a joke that all Black men are trashy, aggressive, baby daddy making, then that means that I'm not part of that. I'm not a man. I don't have any place making that type of joke. I can't put everybody in a bucket like that, but I can put myself in a bucket because I know what me and 500,000 other Black women go and do because we keep these beauty shops in business, right? I can speak on it. I have firsthand knowledge. You don't have firsthand knowledge of being a Black woman. So therefore you cannot speak on or make a closeted dark humor joke that's just in poor taste and low quality and call it humor. Okay, Dave Chappelle and Cat Williams and all those guys, they make millions off of making jokes. And although they may be edgy, they still don't come flat out and just be ignorant. And what you did was ignorant. And
Wait,
the reason why I asked you about your mother is, oh, go ahead.
okay, so I mean, you're saying that downstream when they're already millionaires. Like you don't think that they ever said a joke that was ignorant, like coming up in the beginning ever?
Yeah, they went back and they found a joke on what is his name, Kevin Hart, where he said some homophobic things.
Right. So
So I'm
obviously,
sure. I mean,
I
we
mean,
found.
ideally I would be Dave Chappelle. I mean, it's almost like obviously if I could make jokes like them, I would have it to be that would be the case. So the fact that I'm not Dave Chappelle or Cat Williams or Kevin Hart, of course, I wish that I had their talent and money. I mean, so I don't get why that is like a point to be made. Yes, if I could. What was that?
I never said that they should or could do it either.
Well, let me go back to this.
Agree with that when you asked me about those guys.
But maybe this. So you're looking for a deep psychological explanation. Perhaps a deep psychological explanation is connected to the idea that I don't believe in the rule that you just said. If you're not a part of that group, that you can't make fun of it. Because I think there is a deep psychological explanation for why I'm doing what I'm doing, and it is connected to my upbringing as a Black person, and it is connected to what you just did to me just now. I grew up as a Black individual where people would tell me what it means to be Black and what it means to be white. They will put rules upon me. So white people don't play golf. Black people don't play golf. Black people don't swim. Black people, when I get good grades and I talk educated, that's me acting white. So people will put rules on me. Religions did it too. And the political sphere does it as well. That's why I'm independent. That's why I don't align myself fully with any of these groups, and I critique them because I don't like other groups telling me what I can and cannot do based on their own arbitrary designs and their arbitrary rules. And so just like you would say that I can't make fun of somebody whose group I don't participate in, that's an example of me why I would resist it. It's like, I do not like that rule and I'm not going to submit to that rule. Nobody's going to tell me any rules. I'm a contrarian and I will always do the thing that somebody tells me I can't do. And that's your psychological reason there. And if you think that every person who is contrarian and doesn't want to be told what to do and wants to paint outside the lines hates Black women, then you really don't have an understanding that there is a lot of people who are like me, who are just, don't tell me what to do. And if you tell me something's off limits, I'm going to go beyond it.
I agree. There are a lot of people like you, honey. They stormed the Capitol and they refused to wear a mask and get a vaccine. There are a lot of people like you. They call them edge lords. There are a lot of people like you. I'm not here to change your mind. You're to change your mind. I'm here to show you the ramifications of what you say and do.
Are any of the people like me?
Jump in. Go ahead.
Are any of the people like me on the left as well?
I can't speak for the entire left. The left is a loosely based ideology that we want certain things done. We want society and structure, social welfare programs. So you asking me to account for what, 125 million people in the United States? Then it gets even bigger when you go around the world.
Okay, so
I can't account for all of that.
Think about this. 125 million people. Do you think it's possible that there's not a pedophile in there?
Okay, now wait a minute. We're going from talking about you making a nasty joke about black women and pedophilia. Pedophilia is not a political affiliation. Pedophilia is a criminal act.
Okay. I guess this is the point.
Well, we know that there's pedophiles on the Republican side. We know that there's pedophiles on the Democratic side. Okay.
Yes.
We know that. So, I mean, I'm sure there's kitty rapists on both sides, but I'm live and I don't want to go too far into that because TikTok will ban me from going live.
Wait. So the reason why we know this might be different is the fact there's 100 million people. If you get any group of 100 million people, you are going to have edgelords, you're going to have pedophiles, you're going to have every single type of person you can imagine. It is just too big of a number to not have people like me. So they are on the left, they are in the Black community, they are in the Christian community, they are in the atheist community. The people like me exist in every community because they're too big. They're too big to not have people like me.
You didn't answer my original question, though.
Which is what?
Do you blame your mother for how you was raised?
Yeah, I told you. I said no. Yeah, and you said, and you connected that. What was that?
Can you explain why you do not blame them? Because I think you're giving me lip service and not telling me the truth.
Because blame is a religious construct that only makes sense to be aimed towards God. Blame itself, the person who's responsible. You're laughing. I mean, I don't know why you're laughing at my answer, because.
No, I'm sorry. I lost myself. I'm so sorry. Please go ahead.
Go ahead. To me, the searching for blame is a religious question, which is why people are responding religiously when they're talking about, oh, who do you blame, right? Because people are searching for blame. Blaming is an invention made up by human society because of mimetic desire. This is something that's been studied by Rene Girard. He has an entire book on it. And it's because we imitate each other's desires. And then when that becomes a problem and conflict arises, then we have to find a scapegoat. The scapegoat typically looks like someone different than us. And that's where we need to place blame on the conflict that we have. So to me, blame is a religious invention that people are largely unaware of why they seek it. Now,
okay.
If you want to think of out of the people close to me, who would be the biggest contributing factor, not blame, but who would be the biggest contributing factor to the way that I was raised, as far as the bad part of it, I would say my dad. But to say that I lay blame on my dad is to kind of make my dad my savior. And so I resist that because like I said, people aren't very rational when they start to get into blame, and I like to preserve my rationality. And I don't think giving into the desire to find somebody to blame, just giving into it and letting it control me, is a good thing, because I believe that is possibly what contributed to Martin Luther King dying. Perhaps there was unrest during the civil rights movement and they needed somebody to blame, right? They needed somebody to scapegoat. So, well, here's the one. He doesn't look like us. He's Black. And look at this. He is a figurehead in these other people that don't look like us. So we have to get rid of him. He's a source of all our problems. That is a unconscious impulse that we have that goes crazy and have us do the dumbest things. So I don't like blame.
Okay, but don't you identify as a Christian?
Yes.
So you identify as a construct?
Yes.
Because you're a part of that construct.
Yeah.
So you identify as part of that construct, but you deny a piece of it by saying that blame comes from the religious zealots, basically.
I think Christianity is the story of how crazy that shit goes. Because the blame got crazy enough that you killed an innocent person who never did anything wrong. Like, that is the story of Christianity to me, is that you guys are so fucking crazy about your blame, and you're going after everybody to try to blame stuff on, and then eventually you go nuts enough that you kill an innocent person who only loved you and meant well. I think that is exactly the Christian story. And it's supposed to have the results of you coming to terms with how you lose yourself in this crowd of trying to blame somebody, blame shifting, that you will actually become the evil person yourself. I think I lost you.
Thank you. Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yes, my satellite connection. I apologize.
Yeah, I just think that Christianity is a story of how we became aware that we had a blame mechanism working automatically in the background, and it was unchecked, and then we ended up killing somebody tragically who was a hero. And I think that that's the point of Christianity, is that we awaken from that and stop doing it.
Okay, so it's so many problematic things with what you just said, though. I want to point out. You believe that Christianity is an example of people basically. I want to make sure I say this right, because I don't want to offend any Christians or anybody, that's out there. So you believe that Christianity is the basis of a blame type of movement, right?
It's the eradication.
They went crazy.
It's a story. It's the dramatic story of why we should stop scapegoating.
Okay.
Because how bad it gets.
Basically, the Christians went. Okay. So Christians went bananas, and they persecuted and murdered. I'm assuming you are talking about JC, right?
Yeah, but it was Jews that
Jesus Christ.
It was the Jews, the leaders, the Jewish religious leaders.
The Jews persecuted the King of the Jews.
Right.
Okay. That in and of itself, is very problematic, and very, it's just it's so wild that you would have these very forward-thinking ideologies, and then double back to standing on being Christian and trying and justifying the blame factor with the Christian storybook. So we're probably not going to get very far on that front, because you may not know this, but I don't ascribe to that type of stuff. And I feel as though it's just a way for people to kind of justify being however which way they want to people, and just use it. They use it. Every single religion, I believe, on the face of this earth is used. Go ahead.
Let me ask you this. Okay, so you believe in blame, but it's not material. You can't touch blame, and it's not energy. You can't measure it with any scientific instruments. So what is it? Why do you believe in it?
Actually, you can. In the field of psychology, actually things are measurable, and they're proven and tried and sound. You can theorize about it and then prove that theory to be true. And so I'll take it away from religion and take it to animals. So all completely black animals, like black cats, black dogs, are like 60% more higher. They run a risk of being murdered by their owner or somebody else that come into contact with them, particularly black cats. So the black cat stereotype, they're bad luck. So you can test that blame. Put a black cat somewhere where people believe, they're bad luck, they're going to get killed. You could test it. You can retest it, test it. You wouldn't want to do that, of course, because that would be nasty and awful to those cats, but you can test that. You can touch it. You can write the results down. So blame can be measured.
Yeah, so are you saying the blame is just the action of who is accused, or are you saying that it's something that people are trying to figure out? So like, are we actually trying to figure out who's to blame, or are we just assigning somebody?
If you're equating this back to my question about you and your mother, if my personal belief with blame is that as humans we have both conscious and subconscious thought processes. So we are aware of some of the things and biases that we hold, some of the blames and truths that we hold, and then at times we are unaware and we are subconsciously holding those biases and truths about that situation, that person, that thing. I think so. I believe that there's two halves. So every single person on the face of this earth have like separate domains of how they act. You have your workplace behavior, you have your online behavior, you have your in the home with no cameras on behavior, and then you have that deep, dark behavior that you don't even know most of the time is there. It's those ugly little thoughts that give me pause when I see Black men like you.
Yeah, why
Those
can't one of
thoughts that
those
you wouldn't say to your mother.
why can't one of those ugly thoughts that I'm not aware of be that I blame God?
Wait a minute, say that again. You were kind
Why
of
one
choppy.
of those ugly little thoughts that in my subconscious that I'm not aware of, why can't be one of those thoughts be that I blame God?
Are you saying that you blame God for the way you was raised, or are you just throwing that out there?
I'm just throwing that out there because we're talking about the nature of blame.
Mhm. So anybody that has irrational or impulsive behavior or behaviors that fall in line with like PDD or ODD will definitely hold those irrational thoughts. You see that a lot. It'll emerge after periods of PTSD or a PTSD episode or incident, or grief or some type of death or something traumatic that will cause grief and complicated grief. You start to see those irrational thoughts. Now, when you hold on to those irrational thoughts, those erratic, make no sense, it doesn't make any sense. It's just erratic. It's just not even planted in your mind right. You can't even form a clear path to how you got to that conclusion. When you see that emerge, that typically shows that the person has poor impulse control, and also that they tend to be, I guess you would call it, what did you call it? Like an edgelord. And they make dark humor jokes and just kind of be offensive and things like that. You know, they don't think things through all the way. They just act, every action. So like in your example, consciously posted a video and it like drove you to react in a typical way, but that I would expect, but a very irrational way, a
Wait,
large
so
grouping
wait a
of
minute.
African American women. So your mom, so this is what I was getting at. So your mom, you say you're an only child, right?
Yeah,
Okay. So your mom didn't have 3 or 4 baby daddies, did she?
no,
Or you got some other siblings you ain't telling me about? Okay. Okay. Grandma, did grandma have a whole bunch of baby daddies?
I don't think so.
How many aunts and uncles you got who all got the same last name?
I don't know that information offhand.
So you don't know how many aunts and uncles you have?
Correct.
Okay. And you was raised with grandma too, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Interesting.
And, well, I actually want to. You made a distinction that I wanted to clarify. You said that somebody blames God as having irrational thoughts. Would somebody who, like for me, like if I blame my mom, would that be a rational thought?
No, both are irrational. The fact that you're blaming a deity, so like you could think back in time and think about the Mayan temples and stuff, and they like if they have a drought, I'm gonna throw like 15 virgins in a live volcano. That's irrational to me
Yeah.
to blame a deity for climatic issues. Um, Yeah, no, blaming your mom, your dad, your aunt, your uncle, your black cat, um, the neighbor 15 years ago, that's irrational. What's going on in your life right now today, you have the power to change that. You are the author of your own story. And if you allow other people to write that story for you, they're going to write the crappiest story possible. So why wouldn't you take control of what you're doing and write your own story? So
Right,
yes, it
right.
would be irrational
So
for
perhaps,
control. And I think a lot of African, oh, go ahead.
no, so perhaps the resistance that I have to blame my mom isn't because I'm trying to deny some deep secret psychological thing. It could be that I'm trying to be rational.
No, you're angry because your dad wasn't there.
Okay,
You
so
still mad at mama.
but
You ain't
but
gonna admit
but
it.
logically speaking, though, logically speaking, you may say that like that's not the case now, but logically speaking, if somebody is trying not to blame someone for their problems, it could be that they are they're shutting down some trauma, but it also could be that they're trying to be rational, correct?
If you have to try to be rational, then you are simply fighting irrational thoughts. You don't have to try to be rational. I'm a rational human being. When I missed our this Zoom meeting with you a couple times, I rationally explained to you, hey, I'm in healthcare. I have to work 14 hours today. I'm tired. I ain't doing it. I couldn't do it, right? So that's a rational explanation. Irrational explanation would have been of like, well, forget you then. You need me. I don't need you. It was irrational. So I would have been, so for me to come to you and say rationally, hey, look, this is what happened. Please accept my apology. That's a rational. I didn't have to think about it. It was second nature. If you have to fight irrational thoughts by justifying them in your head and making them rational, then there's obviously some trauma there. And I want to use this moment to just kind of squeegee this in here. I'm not highlighting you or trying to put you in a box and just say, you're like an awful person. I watch your videos. Not every last one of them, but I like a lot of your content. So I don't think I wouldn't even be on this call with you if I thought you were an awful person. I would have just blocked you. So I don't want to say that, and I don't want you to feel beat up, but I do think that more Black men need to be, one, honest with themselves, two, admit that they may not be the happiest at how they was raised, three, go and get mental help. Mental health help is nothing to be embarrassed about. You don't have to make no big deal about it. You don't have to live stream it. Just get up and go get it. And if you don't know, if anybody don't know, then put them on to me. I have a ton of free resources that are national and international to help Black men, because Black men deserve to be loved too. You deserve to be loved too. You don't deserve to get on here and be attacked and bashed for your joke. Your joke was offensive. It was in poor taste. I think you could have did better, but that's okay, little brother. I still love you. I still think you can be amazing, and I hope, and I'll keep wanting all of your dreams to come true. But in order for you to be great, you're going to have to drop that baggage, and you're carrying baggage, and it shows in your videos. I mean,
Are you
I
back?
apologize, it's still snowing. I watched one of your videos where the person accused you of, I guess, being not Christian, or they asked, what were you? And
Yeah.
you were quick to respond, I'm Christian. You wore that with a badge of honor, like, I'm Christian, like a protection thing. That's protection. No, I'm one of you guys. You want to be an edge lord, but you're not really an edge lord. You don't want to stand out. You don't want to stand out. You want the clout and you want the fun that go with the clout, but you don't want the misery that goes with that as well. And I think you should probably just go sit down and have a long talk with a counselor and kind of get to, and it won't work if you're not honest. If you're not honest with them, it will not work. But in order for you to say, I won't date Black women, or I don't want to date Black women, because that leads me to like look at the inside, look at your interpersonal relationships growing up with your family.
What if I
And
say,
stuff wasn't good there.
what if I say I
Go
won't date
ahead.
men because, does that say something psychologically about me?
Yes,
What does it say?
yes, it does.
What does it say?
What does
What
it
kind of
say?
baggage do I have that I say I don't want to date
It
men?
says that you're prejudging the experience of dating a man.
And that's something psychologically
You're
wrong with me?
prejudging the experience.
But that means there's something wrong with me that I need counseling for?
So prevailing thought in the DSM right now, the newest DSM, prevailing thought is that they took away the stereotype of being gay as having a connection with like a psychological issue. So being gay does not make you a psycho or having a psychological issue or diagnosable, thing. So like I'm married, so I prefer men. There's no but. There's no but. I just prefer men.
But
That's
if
it.
if I say I will,
You
as a
add
rule,
but. You add the but.
yeah, if I say as a rule, I exclude men out of the dating pool as a rule, will never date a man. There's something psychologically wrong with me that I would need to see.
That's not, but yes, because that's not the way you say that. I prefer women. So you can have a preference. Ain't nothing wrong with having a preference. I prefer Chips Ahoy to Oreos. It's just a preference. I eat them both though at the end of the day because I love food, but it's a preference.
What if
You
I,
can have a preference.
what if
When
I,
you got into the aesthetic,
what if I say as a rule, I will never have sex with a goat?
that's illegal.
But if it
So
was
we can
legal
throw that
though,
out
but if
there.
it was legal, if it was
Rule,
legal,
as a rule, I'll never smoke crack. I mean, that's illegal. Like, who's gonna pressure you because you're not gonna be a goat. I forgot what that's called. That's a term for that. That's not the fact that you would have to exclude that. To me, I would still question your mental state. If you have to exclude that from the, like off the table, that's automatic. Kids and things like that, that's off the table when we're talking about dating and interpersonal relationships. So yeah, that's a given. I assume everybody I meet don't date goats. I will hope everybody I meet don't date goats.
so
But if you have to say I don't date goats, what? I date cows? Yeah, something wrong with you.
So if I take your advice and I go to see a psychiatrist about my deep-seated hatred for Black women because I made a joke against it, I should also look into why I exclude myself from dating men and look into why I make a rule against goats and perhaps even cows.
No, why are you excluding men? Are you only excluding Black men? Are you only excluding the animals? That's illegal. You can't date animals, bro. That you can't do that. So
Okay, what
like
about my
any
cousin?
illegal
Okay,
act should
what
be
what about my close relatives? How about that?
you in Alabama
Perhaps.
or Tennessee, you can date your cousin, I think,
Right.
in those two
But if I
states.
make a rule against that, should I see
It's
psychological?
illegal.
It's not illegal everywhere. It's not illegal everywhere.
No, if it's not illegal everywhere to date like a cousin. I would say you might not want to have children by your cousin because of genetic abnormalities, but if that's what toot your whistle, then rock and roll with it.
Right, but if I make a rule against that, I should also address that when I go to see the psychiatrist. Why my hatred against Black women? Why I
So
don't.
you're asking about all of you're asking about all this anomalous, like these what ifs. There's a 550 trillion variables of the but. Okay, I am stating that anybody that has such low disregard for women that were in their life, that whole half, you may have some mental issues going on.
And
might be some anger that you're holding on to.
and that low of a view is signified by the fact that I made a joke.
signified by the fact that you made a joke that was so degrading that it was like a gasp moment. It was cringy and it was degrading. And
So
if your criteria of dating somebody, if I met an individual that their criteria for dating me was solely based off the fact that I was Black, that's just as cringy.
yeah, if that was real, but I told you it's not real. I dated Black people, and if I wasn't with her, maybe I would date a Black woman. It's not real. It's a joke. But the reason I need to, the reason I what shows that I look so low down at Black women is the fact that I made a joke that was cringy and degrading.
And so when you make a cringy and degrading joke, as marginalized individuals, we have to fight a society full of ugliness every day. So when I see enough, it's like I live in a country, I live in an completely all white space. So if I see a brother or a sister in this space out here, I make that eye contact and I give them that nod, letting them know you safe while I'm here. You're the type of person that won't return that nod. So no, you're not a safe space. Nobody should feel bad watching a video of somebody denigrating their whole entire race, the female version of it. Shouldn't feel bad. You can be funny and be edgy without being racist or homophobic or ableist. You can be these things, but people just so lazy. Like I'm lazy. I don't want to make big long TikTok videos. So I'd like do a lot of duetting people and stuff like that, or I pre-record stuff. I just, you can't be lazy. If you want to be great, you can't be lazy.
Can
And the way I view women, go ahead.
can you name a famous comedian that actually has maintained this non-joking about ableist people? So like never degrading to any class of ableist people. Do you know of any famous comedian that has successfully made a career by following those rules?
Hmm. Well, I don't really follow comedians like that. They're not my genre. I'm a documentary girl and a book reader. I don't know. I know it's politically incorrect to get up and make fun of people's disabilities. That's not okay. So if comedians are doing that, I don't, I'm not for sure, but I don't think that's okay.
So perhaps we should rid
But you have
society of comedians.
I'm not saying rid society of comedians. I'm saying there's levels, and if a comedian is making jokes about someone's disability and things like that, a lot of comedians that I've seen when they get edgy, they're talking about themselves. Like I've watched Kevin Hart routine. He talks about how short he is. Cat Williams, he talk about how short he is. His temper, things like that. They kind of turn it inward. I think if like if let's say a female had posed a question and then you jumped on there and you turned that joke inward to you, as I stated before, because you belong to that group, that subset of people, then nobody could really have anything to say but laugh at it. And that's why a lot of the famous people on TikTok that's outside of the political arena, outside of the racism and doing that stuff, a lot of the funnier people on TikTok turn their joke inward, like angry reactions. He has a ton of followers and all of his jokes are turned inwards. And when he do shine light out forward, he does it, he shines that light out and he does it in a positive way. Like he'll make
So
a video with the angry face and say, you beautiful today. So I think you only should make a joke if you're in that group. So
right.
if you don't use a wheelchair, you have no place utilizing a wheelchair for ambulation.
So the world would be better if we got rid of all the comics who don't joke inwardly. So every comic, we should get rid of all the comics who don't have the niche and the habits and the brand of joking inwardly. All the ones who joke outwardly, they should be kicked out of comedy and thrown out.
You know how you control that narrative is you don't support it. So I'm not a crackhead. So I don't support crack dealers. So as you asked me about the comedian thing, and I told you I don't follow comedians like that. I might run across something maybe on Facebook or something, but I don't really follow comedians like that. I've never been to those type of comedy shows. We did have a circuit, a stand up in St. Louis, and I participated in that. And there were rules. There were rules, and all the jokes were, you couldn't say, I mean, you couldn't talk about Muslims, you couldn't talk about 9/11, you couldn't talk about the Ferguson riots. It was a whole bunch of rules of things that you couldn't talk about that they ran through at the beginning and then gave you a piece of paper and then you signed off on it because they get you off the stage. So yeah, there should be some rules, but outside of that, people should just have basic decency. It's like you don't, like I was telling you about that back of the bus thing, so the rule was if you came to the last 6 seats of the bus, you could join. And then what we did was we left everybody alone outside of that group. So you could not go and like talk about somebody that's 7 rows up. So if you got in the back, you got back there to cap on people and talk about people. But if somebody's like in the front of the bus, we didn't do that. And I think people need to have basic decency. Like I'm never going to make fun of someone for being poor. You never have to apologize to me for being poor. You never have to apologize to me for being Black, for being homosexual. You never have to apologize for those things. Asian, Indigenous, you don't have to apologize for those things. Those things are beautiful. And so for a comedian to get up and make a large following and make money off of making fun of already marginalized people, don't you think that's already just kicking the dog while the dog down?
Wait a minute.
Like, don't you think that's just overrated?
So what if I said that me making fun of these people, them showing up on my page is identical to them showing up in the back of the bus? And if they don't like it, then they could hit.
If they come to the back of the bus.
Yeah, so if they don't like it, they can hit not interested and go back to the front of the bus.
That is true. You can do that. However, I can see that you put it out there and that's a ripple effect. So in order for me to know as an adult, in order for me to know whether or not I'm interested in something, I try to watch the whole video all the way through before I form an opinion. So you still popped up on the For You page or wherever and created this, stereotypical joke, this poor joke. And then, yeah, I can get rid of you at that point, but you still popped up there. But the original problem is that even came to your mind to even make that joke. That's what I'm telling you.
No, the problem is that
all of things you could have done to your mind to make that joke is the problem.
The problem is that it hit people who are offended. Because so basically what I'm saying is I also would have it that everybody who heard my jokes thought they were funny and weren't offended, and all positive feedback. Of course I would want that. I just don't know of anyone who's ever provided to me a plan in which I can grow a TikTok following where everybody was pleased all across the board.
By making fun of yourself. Make fun of yourself. I can't argue with the truths that you know to be about yourself. Not even you, Anthony, as a Black man, just you, individual. If you make fun of yourself, some of my funniest TikToks, when I first got on TikTok, I ain't had like no followers. I had like, 100 was vibing with me hard. All of my TikToks were about myself. About me sneaking in the house after curfew. They were about me, and those people rocked with me so hard. And if you do it about yourself, I can't argue about that. If you say Black men in the barbershop be like, and that's, I can't argue with that.
Do you think that people should be allowed to make fun of Trump?
If they are, if you're allowed to make fun of Trump, then you are allowed to make fun of Biden as well. So absolutely, a political figure is, they're on limits. They on deck. If you like baseball, they on deck.
Okay.
Yeah, if you step into public, like my TikTok page is public, so people, if they duet me or make fun of me in a particular way that's not prejudiced or racist or sexist or nasty, then yeah, I will accept that. I will take that. I will take that because it's public. They're public servants. So yeah, you can make fun of them
Okay, so I can make fun of myself, and that's fine, and I can make fun of public figures.
in a way that's not nasty. So like if you making fun of Rosie O'Donnell and you be like nasty about an attribute of hers, then that's still wrong. But if you're just making fun of Rosie O'Donnell, not like being in any shows or movies or something, then nah, ain't nothing wrong with that. Public information, but personal attributes are personal attacks.
Do you
Those are personal attacks. You can't like work your way around that.
do you know of anyone on TikTok who's made a following who makes fun of political figures in a non-nasty way, that also doesn't get negative backlash?
Yep, there's a ton of them. But
There's a
you're gonna
ton?
get, well, the negative backlash when you put that variable on there, that quantifier. So here's the deal: you cannot make political TikToks, whether they be funny and in the right scope, and not get negative backlash. You're going to get negative backlash because you're going to get people from the other side saying this is wrong, don't do that, this is wrong. So yeah, you're going to get that. It's so polarized. So you're going to get backlash. I get videos reported for violent content all the time, just because somebody's scrolling through my stuff, just reporting it. It happens.
Mm.
It happens. Yeah, you can build a following off of that, but if you're gonna hurt one side or the other, no matter, somebody's gonna get butt hurt over it. My whole premise is that you don't have to be nasty towards Black women to make a joke. You don't have to be nasty towards anybody to make a joke. And the real talent come when you can do it without like hurting anybody. Joe Biden and Donald Trump will never know, me or you have this conversation. They'll never know our face. They'll never know anything about this. They don't care about us. They are living their life. They are doing what two old white men has been doing since the beginning of time, and that's be rich. Okay. But that little TikTok follower that's 8 years old, they'll remember you and they'll remember your words.
Yeah. All right, last thing I want to discuss here is we had the disagreement on race being a social construct, and I was saying that like it is a social construct and it doesn't have any like biological scientific counterparts, and thus it's defined inconsistently and arbitrarily. So like I feel like there's no reason for Black people to give so much validity to something that essentially white people made up, and it changes from year to year and from location to location.
Okay. You want me to respond?
Yeah.
Okay. White people did not create race the way that people give them credit for. Okay. White people created the social economic foundation of race. Okay. So if you think all the way back to the beginning of civilization, beginning of humankind, tribes had been warring and going against each other way back when. So like, even if you look at like the Vikings and you look at the Chinese and the Japanese, they knew that they weren't vibing. So you're Chinese, you're Japanese, you're Korean, those are races within what we call, the Asian race or whatever. Race has always been there. It's always been a factor. It's always been something to show otherness. White people added the financial part to race. And they did that because when they were in Europe, what I believe to happen is when they were in Europe, they were like not in a good place in their caste system in Europe. So when they came over to the United States, they wanted to make sure that they kept themselves situated based on what's the most common thing that we have. And we have the lack of melanin. And they monetized that and added that to kind of keep them situated, is the way I look at it. So they did, it's not a social construct. There are some biological differences. They're very slight, but there are some biological and genetic differences between African Americans and white people or different races. It just is. But are those biological differences enough to make somebody superior or inferior? No, they're not.
Let me ask you, so you said that races are, how many races are there according to you?
Hmm. Well, I mean, when you say race, that's a really broad term. So when you say race, define what you're looking for to quantify race.
All right, I can't do that for you because I believe that it was made up by Johann Friedrich Blumenbach in 1776. He categorized 5 of them. He said Caucasian, Mongolian, Malayan, Ethiopian, and American.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say, he would say
No, it was Mongoloid.
Mongoloid,
You can go all
Mongolian.
the way back to where
Right, but basically,
Caucasoid, Negroid.
yes. So he would say that there's 5. I don't, like, it's made up to me. So like, I wouldn't say that I would say that the amount of races is 1. There's only 1 human race, but this is something that he made up. So I don't know what you would categorize and say how many you believe there are.
Well, if you're looking at a large swath of people, so like if I needed biologically speaking, if I needed a kidney, then they of course would start to look through individuals that match my genetic makeup. So they would look through individuals that are African American, about my size, female, because some things that they know about body parts is that the better match that organ is, the longer it'll last in the recipient. So they wouldn't give me somebody with a B negative blood and I'm O positive, because I can only receive O positive things, but I can give my organs to anybody. So reason why I say that is because I believe that no matter what, if we look alike, we share some type of genetic similarities. We have them if you look like me. So maybe we're from the same part of Africa, or maybe different tribes, but in the same region of Africa, things like that. I would say that there is, if we had to like really narrow race down, I would say you have like the white, the black, the Asian, Latin. And some people argue that like South Asian, like the Native American, and then South Asian, like from India, they don't add them in Asian, but I consider them to be Asian.
Do you believe
now, does that mean that anyone? Go ahead.
What do you think that there should be a race called other? Like when you fill out an application, it should be other race?
I don't think you should have to disclose any race on any application for anything. Doesn't matter.
Do you think that's a valid category?
Then you can identify Spider-Man if you want to. Do you have the qualifications or the credit score or the money to do what you need to do? It doesn't matter. I don't care when people apply for at my job and I'm reviewing it. I don't care. They don't have a box on there for that because it doesn't even matter. You don't have to disclose that. But I'm in a state where they don't have to disclose them unless they want to.
Do you think it's a valid
category? Identify, like I said, you can identify Spider-Man.
Do you think it's a valid category though, that people can be other race?
You mean of more than one ethnicity, or?
You can answer that one too. Do you think people can be more than one race? They can be multiple races?
When we first started this, remember I told you, you write your own story. You define the terms by which you live. So yeah, I mean, if someone wants to identify as something other than what I think they are, what they identify as is more important than what I think they are.
So if
you, Anthony, identify as a 35-year-old white man from Atlanta, then even though you look like a black man to me, but you tell me I'm a 35-year-old white man from Atlanta, I'm gonna go with what you say, okay? Then you're a 35-year-old white man from Atlanta. You have the right to define your own life.
Okay. So basically it's self-reported kind of.
Isn't all of it self-reported?
Um, I guess like this, I guess I don't know what do you think about this? How Mexicans were considered white in 1929, and then non-white in 1930 for immigration purposes, and then white again in 1942 during World War II for labor purposes. So like,
Mhm.
what do you think is going on there? Do you think that they actually changed races, or do you think that this was some type of what do you think was going on there?
But I just answered that. Really, you remember what I said? The Caucasians that came to the United States, the Europeans that came to the United States, did what with race? They monetized it. So they flip flopped the, you know, I'm not a historian, so I never looked into that, but they flip flopped them as they needed for monetary reasons, for labor, for this, for that, you know, count you in the census, don't count you in the census. And that goes back to slavery when poor white individuals or poor Europeans and indentured servants were getting with the slaves and they were having rebellions and they were killing off whole plantations and towns, they hurry up and told the poor white people, oh no, you're white, so you one of us. And those guys are other. They monetize color, dear. So at the end of the day, if you know, that's what people don't understand. It's just all a big game. It's not a construct in a way that, oh, it's just something that's there. No, biologically, there are some slight differences between the races, and there are some things that genetic issues that certain races or certain people from certain geographic locations hold to be true versus others. Like African Americans, we predominantly have to worry about sickle cell. Whereas Europeans, that's not so much of an issue. Jewish have to worry about Tay Sachs, whereas with African Americans, that's not so much of an issue, right? So there are some slight differences between the races. However, Caucasians that came to the United States solely for the purpose of colonizing the United States used color solely for the purpose of monetary reasons, period. So when you got a Mexican today and then you're a Mexican tomorrow, but you're a white Mexican and then you're back to being a regular Mexican and an immigrant, then that's because they use those people, just like with the Chinese and the railroad, just like, you know, any other race of people, the Native Americans and their land, the African Americans and their physical labor. So they just monetized it. That's all.
If that's the background,
Did I
then
answer your
yeah,
question?
you did. If that's the background though, that white people are using it to their advantage, then what would be the black person's reason to identify as black, since white people are the ones who are deciding this, essentially, instead of being like, I'm Cameroonian and Togolese, because that's what I am. I'm Cameroonian and Togolese. So why would I identify as black instead of Cameroonian and Togolese?
Is that a race? Would you consider that a race,
I
Cameroonian?
no, I consider that ethnicity.
Or is that your ethnicity?
Yeah,
That's your ethnicity,
yeah,
right?
right.
Okay, well, race-wise, the broad picture is that although you're Cameroonian and so from Tonga, what do you say? You
Togolese.
Congolese and Tongolesian?
Yeah,
Say it again.
Togolese. Yeah.
Okay, so Tongolese. So you're from this area in Africa, is what you're telling me, right?
Well, more than that, I'm part
Yeah.
German, French, and all this other stuff. But two primary is
Okay,
Cameroon and
so
Togo.
you did like the 23andMe
Yeah,
DNA
yeah.
stuff or whatever, and they told you had like all this stuff mixed in. Okay.
Mhm.
Well, the German is probably from your ancestors being raped by slave owners, but I'm not here nor there. We can't prove that, right? Uh, as far as like that would be like more of your ethnicity and your culture than like your race. Because at the end of the day, the police ain't gonna look at you and say, "Oh, you look Cameroonian," you know, and they gonna beat you down just like they beat me down. They're not gonna stop and say, you know, well, before I beat you down, are you Cameroonian? You know, you look black, so therefore you are black.
Yeah, but
You know, now
what's
underneath black, we got all these other things. Can people have more than one? Yeah.
but what's the benefit to me to say that I'm black instead of Cameroonian and Togolese?
You can welcome around and tell everybody you Cameroonian and Tongolese. You can say that. Nobody, I'm not saying don't. You can say that. If you got enough time, like to get that all out, then say it.
So like what
You have
you're
enough
not,
time to get it out, then say it.
you don't think it's just it's conspicuous or suspicious that we are calling ourselves Black when you just said like how that's a title given, created, uh like and dished out by white people for their own benefit? Like why would we follow suit and then, oh yeah, they say I'm Black, so I'm Black?
I believe I like the term African American. I like the term African American because we are. I feel I'm African descent living in America. My grandmother is Native American, which is, you know, I mean, I could go all into all of that and talk about my mixed background and all of those things, but nah, they don't write my book. They don't write my narrative. I mean, they if I run around saying, oh, they made up Black, so I shouldn't use Black. I mean, I like African American, but sometimes I don't have time to get out African American. I might just say Black. So I define the terms by which I live. I don't care how they feel about my color, because at the end of the day, it is what it is. Now, do I know the definitions of Black? Yeah, I know what Black is, and I know what white is, and I know the total opposites, and et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, I get all of that, but I define my terms, not them. They threw it out there. We took it and ran with it.
All right. Well, we are coming up on 6 o'clock and I have to prepare for another meeting that I have to do.
Okay.
A big one, a meetup that I go to with other people, and it's based on a psychologist that we follow. So you'll be happy to hear that I am following a psychologist that does talk about self-improvement and dealing with trauma and stuff like that with the support group. And we go over that, but I have to do that.
Love it.
I have to do that soon. So I'm gonna get off of here and save this and this recording, and I'll give you a link to it. The only parts I'm gonna cut out is the parts before you got here.
Okay.
And I want to thank you for hopping on here. Is there anything that you would like to say?
I do not. I'm not doing this for any promo. I did it because I wanted to answer your question. I hope you found this conversation to be enlightening, and I hope you didn't feel attacked, because like I said, I love you anyway, brother, no matter what. Take care of yourself and have a wonderful, wonderful afternoon, okay?
Thank you, thank you. And I do not feel attacked. I'm glad you're real. I honestly just want to promote the idea of TikTok actually getting on live calls or live chats together with each other, because it does have a way of humanizing it, and I think it can be better conversation.
And I'll jump on and join you anytime. So invite me again if you ever want to, okay?
Okay, that sounds good. You take care. Enjoy the rest of the night.
You too. All righty, bye-bye.